The hearing room went dead silent. Dick Durbin placed a red folder on the table, the kind of folder that changes careers, ends reputations, exposes lies. Inside that folder, documents, numbers, names, dates, everything Kash Patel said wasn't true. Everything he denied, everything he tried to hide. And Durbin was about to read it all, word by word, line by line, in front of the cameras, in front of America. Patel sat across from him, composed, confident. That practiced look of a man who has survived hostile questioning before. But watch his hands, they're flat on the table, pressing down, white knuckles. He knows something's coming. He just doesn't know what yet. 4 minutes ago, Durbin opened that folder and everything changed. If you're new here, subscribe right now. Hit the bell icon. What you're about to hear will be on every news channel by tonight, but you are seeing it first, right here, right now. Let me set the scene for you. Senate Judiciary Committee, afternoon session. Supposed to be routine, budget updates, personnel reviews, standard FBI oversight, the kind of hearing where senators ask predictable questions and the FBI director gives predictable non-answers. Everyone goes home. Nothing changes. Dick Durbin had different plans. For those who don't know Durbin, Illinois senator, 40 years in politics, thousands of hearings, hundreds of witnesses. The man doesn't ask questions he doesn't already know the answers to. He doesn't bring folders to hearings unless those folders contain ammunition. And today, that folder was loaded. Across from him sat Kash Patel, the most controversial FBI director in American history, former Trump loyalist, author of Government Gangsters, a book where he called the FBI an existential threat to democracy. And now he runs it. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Durbin started slow. Almost friendly, Director Patel. I want to begin by acknowledging your service. You've taken on a challenging role at a difficult time. Patel nodded. Standard opening. He is heard this before. But I also want to remind everyone watching that you came to this position with a very specific mission, a mission you outlined yourself in writing in your book. Durbin picked up a copy, held it up for the cameras. You called the FBI corrupt. You said it needed to be purged. You created a list, an enemies list of government officials you called gangsters. Patel's expression didn't change. He was ready for this. Senator, with respect, that book reflects my analysis of systemic problems within federal law enforcement, problems that needed addressing. Durbin repeated the phrase slowly. Let's talk about how you've been addressing them. He opened the red folder, and here's where everything shifted. You could feel it in the room. That electric tension when everyone realizes something real is about to happen. Since the 20th of January, Director Patel, how many FBI employees have been terminated or forced into retirement? Patel hesitated just a second. But enough. Senator, I don't have exact figures in front of me, but standard personnel transitions. I have the figures. Durbin's voice cut through. According to multiple highly reliable sources inside the FBI, sources who've contacted my office because they're terrified of retaliation, you have removed, fired, or forced into early retirement approximately 5,000 FBI employees. Silence 5,000 people, Director, in less than 6 months. Patel tried to recover. Senator, those numbers are, let me be more specific. Durbin pulled out a document. All 6 career executives who managed the FBI's major divisions, gone, every single one. 6 out of 6 nonpartisan career civil servants who served under multiple administrations. Fired. He didn't wait for a response. 18 of the 53 FBI field office chiefs removed from their positions. Agents who worked on the 6th of January investigation. Targeted agents who testified in cases involving the former president, reassigned or terminated. Durbin looked up from the document. Director Patel, is this your idea of addressing systemic problems, or is this political revenge? The room erupted. Not chaos, but that low rumble of whispers, shifting bodies, reporters typing frantically. Patel's lawyers leaned in, but he waved them off. Senator, personnel decisions are made based on performance, mission alignment, and organizational needs. I reject any characterization that, then let me ask you about specific performance. Durbin wasn't letting go. Former FBI Deputy Director Brian Driscoll filed a lawsuit last week. In that lawsuit, he claims, under oath, that you personally told him his job depended on firing agents working on cases against President Trump. Patel's jaw tightened. I am not going to comment on pending litigation. You are not going to comment. Durbin's voice was ice. A senior FBI official with decades of experience is accusing you under oath of demanding political loyalty over professional integrity, and you are not going to comment. He leaned forward. But you did comment when you mandated polygraph tests for dozens of career officials. What kind of questions did they have to answer, Director Patel? Whether they made negative comments about you, whether they supported the previous administration, personal political beliefs. Patel's face flushed. Those polygraph examinations were standard security protocols. Standard. Durbin laughed. Not a real laugh, sharp, bitter. Let me tell you what is not standard. He pulled out another document. According to information my office has received, key members of your senior management team, the political appointees you personally selected, showed disqualifying warnings on their initial polygraph exams. Pause, let that sink in. They failed, Director. Your hand-picked loyalists failed the polygraph tests you were using to purge career FBI agents. And what happened to them? Durbin's voice rose. They received personal exemptions from you or from the Attorney General. Political appointees failed the test and got exemptions. But the 5,000 career officers you've removed, they got nothing. Now, I need to stop for a second. If you are still watching, if this matters to you, like this video, I'm serious. The algorithm needs to see engagement. This content needs to reach more people. And comment below, what do you think about these revelations? Let's grow this conversation. Patel was sweating now, actually sweating now. You could see it under the hearing room lights. Senator, I can't discuss individual security clearance decisions, but I can assure you that let's talk about what you can discuss. Durbin cut him off. Let's talk about cyber security. He flipped to another page, the FBI's cyber division. How much has it been cut? Patel shifted. There have been some reallocations. 50% half. Despite growing threats from Russia, China, North Korea, Iran. Despite daily cyber attacks on American infrastructure, American companies, American citizens, you cut the cybersecurity division in half. Durbin's voice was rising now. You could hear the anger. And where did you reallocate those resources? To mass deportation operations. According to reports, you ordered 25 major FBI field offices to divert 45% of their agents from counterterrorism, counterintelligence, organized crime to immigration enforcement. He slammed his hand on the table. The microphone jumped. 45% of the FBI's field agents taken off national security threats. Put on deportation duty. Is that making America safer, Director? Patel tried to respond, but Durbin wasn't done. And then there is the training. You've reduced new agent training at Quantico from 18 weeks to 8 weeks. You've removed the university degree requirement. You are fast-tracking inexperienced, inadequately trained people into positions that require expertise, judgment, years of experience. Durbin shook his head. Former senior FBI officials have warned publicly that this approach jeopardizes the FBI's capacity to protect America. And they're right, because you are not trying to strengthen the FBI. You are trying to remake it in your image, loyal, political, weak. The tension in the room was suffocating. Every senator, every staffer, every reporter knew they were witnessing something historic. This wasn't typical congressional theater. This was a public dismantling. And then Durbin went nuclear. Let's talk about Jeffrey Epstein. Patel's face went white. Actually white. In February, Attorney General Bondi went on Fox News and said, I quote, Epstein's client list is currently on my desk, sitting there for review. She said that publicly on television. Durbin paused. Following that statement, you diverted over 1,000 FBI personnel from critical national security duties. 1,000 people. You had them work 24. Harsh shifts examining over 100,000 pages of Epstein documents. He looked directly at Patel. What were their instructions? Director silence. I'll tell you what their instructions were. They were told to flag any records that mentioned President Trump's name, search for Trump, mark Trump, remove Trump. Durbin's voice was steel. 1,000 FBI agents, 100,000 pages, 24 horse shifts, and the result, an unsigned memorandum from the DOJ and FBI that simply says there is no client list showing complicity. He held up a piece of paper. Unsigned, Director, no name, no signature, no accountability, just a memo that says nothing to see here. Durbin leaned back. Over 250 victims are waiting for justice, waiting to know who exploited them, who trafficked them, who enabled Jeffrey Epstein. And the FBI, under your direction, spent its resources protecting the president's name instead of pursuing his accomplices. The room was in chaos now. Gasps from the gallery, committee members looking at each other in shock, reporters scrambling for their phones. Patel tried to speak. His voice was quiet, defensive. Senator, the release of investigative materials involves complex considerations regarding privacy. Ongoing. What ongoing investigation? Durbin's voice was thunder. Epstein is dead. Maxwell is in prison. There are no charges, no arrests, no ongoing investigation, just an unsigned memo. He gathered his documents. I wrote you a letter 2 months ago, Director Patel. I asked about your role in this. Your role in what looks, sounds, and smells like a cover-up. 2 months, no response. Silence. Durbin stood up. Unusual in a hearing. Senators don't stand, but Durbin stood. And then there is the Charlie Kirk assassination attempt. A gunman shoots a prominent conservative figure at Utah Valley University. And what do? You post on social media falsely claiming the hitman was in custody. False information. During an active investigation violating every rule of effective law enforcement, he pointed at Patel. And then you forced the resignation of the Salt Lake City field office chief, a counterterrorism expert with 20 years of experience, the person leading that high-profile investigation gone. Durbin's voice dropped. Quiet now, more dangerous. Director Patel, the women and men serving in the FBI deserve better. The American people deserve better. They deserve a director with the ability and character to restore the FBI to its position as America's leading law enforcement agency. He paused. Instead, they have you. The hearing continued after that, but nobody was listening. Nobody cared about the follow-up questions from other senators. Everyone in that room, everyone watching at home, could only think about one thing: the numbers. 5,000 FBI employees purged, cybersecurity cut in half, 45% of field agents diverted to deportations, 18 weeks of training reduced to 8, 1,000 personnel searching Epstein files for Trump's name, result, an unsigned memo, no list. Numbers don't lie. And these numbers tell a story of politicization, weaponization, and cover-up, Patel wrote, government gangsters. He called the FBI an existential threat. And now, as FBI director, he is creating that threat himself, firing experienced agents, installing loyalists, granting exemptions to those who fail polygraphs, cutting cybersecurity during a cyber war, reducing training when expertise is critical, covering up Epstein files while victims wait for justice. This isn't reform. This is destruction. Durbin saw it. He proved it with documents. He exposed it with numbers. And most importantly, he did it on camera, on the record, with evidence that can't be denied. Within minutes, clips were everywhere. Twitter exploded. TikTok flooded. Cable news interrupted programming. And in FBI headquarters, phones were ringing. Staffers were panicking. And someone was trying to figure out how to respond to questions that shouldn't have been asked. But they were asked and answered. Subscribe right now. Turn on notifications. This story isn't over. Durbin announced the committee will be issuing subpoenas for all Epstein related documents. He is demanding closed-door briefings. He is calling for an inspector general investigation. Will it happen? I don't know. Washington has a way of burying things. But those numbers aren't going away. Those documents aren't disappearing. And that unsigned memo, everyone's going to remember it. 4 minutes. That is all it took for Dick Durbin to expose what Kash Patel has been hiding. 4 minutes to lay out the numbers, present the evidence, and ask the questions nobody else would ask. And Patel sat there, sweating, silent, cornered. The truth is coming out. One hearing at a time. One document at a time. One brave senator at a time. Stay here. More revelations are coming, and you'll see them first.